hold onto anything. Completely let go of thinking and the judging mind, while gently maintaining the clarity and knowing aspects of the mind. Now raise your arms to shoulder height. Pause and let them drop suddenly to your knees. As you drop your arms, breathe out forcefully. Then think, who cares? So what? So be it. Let's do it again. Drop. Whatever happens, wherever you land after dropping your arms, just let it be. Don't do or try to block anything. Just rest. There is no need to search for something new or try to achieve some special insight or state. Just rest. Feel whatever feelings and sensations that arise and be lightly aware of them. Feel them naturally and softly. And don't try to change anything. When uncomfortable feelings come up, you can relax and be with them without analyzing or trying to figure them out. Let them be as they are. Aware of feelings while resting naturally in the body. Don't analyze or chase thoughts. Drop into the moment completely. Any feeling is fine. Don't grasp or hold on to anything. If there is an emotion and you notice you're happy, joyful, unhappy, scared, sad, just be with it. Don't analyze. Don't try to change it. Any vulnerable feelings are also welcome. You don't need to know anything, analyze anything, or think about something. It's just enough to know the feeling. Just be with anything that is present, any emotions. Don't try to control them. Don't bring any method into it. Don't bring Dharma into it. Just relax. Don't think, feel it. When you think you are not dropping, feel the sensation, the mood. Notice the sensation in your body and just stay there. Don't do anything. If you're not aware of your feelings, that's okay too. Just relax. But don't think that relaxation is another job. Just relax. If the mind feels sleepy, that's fine. If breathing starts to change, that's fine. It means you're starting to relax the tension in the body. If you find some joy, some relaxation, some openness in your feelings, that is the essence love. A feeling of well-being here and now. The most deepest part of your being. I wish that all beings experience that well-being. Now visualize all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas in front of you and ask them to give you the tools, the methods to reach more and more beings and benefiting them. Generate the aspiration, may I become a Bodhisattva. In order to do that, we need to cultivate wisdom. Not only compassion, that's one important aspect, but also wisdom. The ability to perceive emptiness. The lack of inherent existence of all persons and all phenomena. And understanding the interdependent existence of everything. Now let's engage our analytical mind. Think of an object, for example, a house, Notice how there are many non-house elements making it. We need to recognize that each part is made of more parts, and those parts of more parts. All phenomena exist independent on their being conceived and given a name. For example, yourself. You were conceived and you were given a name. You have many identities, many titles. Maybe you are a son or a daughter or a father, a mother, a student, a teacher, a businessman or a businesswoman. Think of all the titles, the identities you've taken. Nothing exists on its own. See that things are more fluid and dependent than you previously thought. If we are not a label, if we are not this body that is made of parts, and our thoughts and emotions are constantly changing, and ask, who am I? Don't try to answer intellectually. Just look. Try to find the I. And we reach the sixth perfection, or the sixth far-reaching attitude, wisdom. So all the other five are helping us develop that aspect of compassion, equanimity, or not develop, discover that we already have that compassionate nature in us. But then we need the wisdom of understanding reality, of seeing reality as it is, not as we believe it is or as it appears to be, right? So these are the two wings we need: compassion, including loving kindness, generosity, patience, equanimity, etc. And wisdom, the realization of emptiness, but not only emptiness, interdependence. Remember, these always go together. Dependent arising is emptiness. Or because there's dependent arising, there is emptiness. Because there's emptiness, there is dependent arising or interdependence. They are the same. So if we just look at emptiness, we go to nihilism. We go into a wrong view, into an extreme. If we just focus on causality, on interdependence, we reify and we believe things really exist from their own side. So we need these two to recognize that they are one. And in that way, there's also no contradiction between the causal approach of creating the causes to achieve enlightenment and the fruitional approach of recognizing that you are already a Buddha right here, right now. You have everything. You don't need to look it somewhere else. You don't need to achieve and work hard to go somewhere and achieve it in the future. But these two are not contradictory, and that's the whole point. So, if you notice the first part of the meditation, we usually do shamatha practice. But what did we do today? We did drop. And drop is just let go of all expectations, all our ideas of how to practice, of all the goal-oriented mind of needing to achieve something that is in the future, of all the effort, of all the methods. Just drop and be. Just feel, not think, not analyze, not rationalize. So you might think, well, that's contradictory to the shamatha, trying to achieve shamatha, trying to achieve concentration on the 9 stages. Or that's contradictory to analytical meditation. It's not. It's just the other approach, you see? And what was the first meditation we did when I arrived here? The first morning? It was this one. It was drop. But if you notice, this drop was different. After all the meditations we've done, after all the weeks of retreat you've been analyzing, thinking, reflecting, practicing, then you drop from another place, right? And even in that drop, there is more insight, there is more understanding that comes from a deeper source, not from rationalizing or from the intellect. So, I want you to have this very clear. Right? I'm not just teaching shamatha, I'm not just teaching vipashyana. We've not only seen the 9 stages of shamatha, we're not only gone into analytical meditations, we're not gone into just loving kindness and compassion. It's all the package, you see? We have to practice from different angles because our ego is taking the teachings too, right? And we trick ourselves. And we think, oh, this is the way. I got it. It's very easy. But then we hit a wall. Why? Because we fall into that duality. This is the right thing. This is the wrong. This is good. This is bad. What are we doing there? Duality again. Right? So we need to come from 2 different approaches so that there's a point where we cannot escape. Right? And yeah, there will be fear arising and conflicting emotions and ideas, but the point of Buddhism is to find that middle way. But our tendency is to go to one extreme or the other extreme. So how do we trick ourselves into not going to the extremes? Well, we start approaching from both sides, from the developmental path of, we are this ignorant sentient being with all these mental afflictions, trying really hard to become a Buddha, to be like those bodhisattvas out there, and doing the practices with discipline, with effort, with aspirations to become a bodhisattva, wishing to become a Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. But from the other hand, we also practice letting go and being fully present and recognizing that Buddha nature that is always present, right? But we could just sit and say, let's just drop and not do anything. And nothing is going to happen if we just do that. So when we come to a Zen or a Dzogchen or a Mahamudra retreat, and the teacher instructs us just to sit. Don't think, don't try to achieve, don't try to analyze, don't do anything. What happens? How can we do that? It's because the context, because they're teaching us the view, the meditation, the conduct, because we already have this foundation on Shamatha, vipashyana, the four immeasurables of the practices. Then our mind is able to integrate everything, and we can just be, right? But if we start there, and we just sit like a rabbit, and think we're doing Dzogchen or Mahamudra or Zen, who knows, right? So we have to be careful and just trust that Buddha nature, trust that everything is right here, right now, not in time, in relative time. Approach it from the ultimate, but also approach it from the causal path of creating the causes, because then we will get there. One way or the other, or simultaneously, right? But that's the whole point. So when we say, the Theravada path is the right one, I just want to do the Shamatha or just Vipassana going, and all the others are wrong, or I just want to do Tantra, or this is the real truth, and all the other paths are wrong. Even if we talk about, like, saying Buddhist is the right path, and Christians and Hindus and Sufis, and they're all wrong, then we're trapped again in duality, thinking that we had the absolute truth, right? But if something we learn in Buddhism is there's no absolute truth. The absolute truth is that everything is empty, that there's nothing inherently fixated out there. So we tend to reify emptiness also and say, it's something, it's the truth. But emptiness is just, there's no intrinsic reality. That's what phenomena are empty, including ourselves. We're empty of that reifying self. Okay? So if you saw yesterday, we had a wonderful day, and if you listened attentively to Jetsuma, who very kindly spoke to us around 2 hours or something, very long talk, very beautiful. She spoke about Shamatha, about practicing Shamatha, about practicing Vipassana, about practicing the four Brahma Viharas, which are the four immeasurables. She did. She spoke about feelings, about pleasant feelings giving attachment, about unpleasant feelings giving rejection, about neutral feelings giving indifference. She spoke about bodhicitta, about everything that we've been meditating. And she is from the Kagyu lineage. Right? But you can see, she gave a wonderful summary of the whole path in just a very short time, if you think about it. But it's all we've been doing here, day after day. Why? Because it's common to all the paths. We need to cultivate this in all paths. Now, I'm not saying the only way is to achieve shamatha and the 9 stages. Yeah, in the Gelupa tradition and in some Theravada traditions, they will tell you, you need to achieve shamatha or you cannot do the rest. No? You need a full achievement of the 9 stages. There is other centers that will tell you, do not need only shamatha, you need to achieve the 4 or following concentrations, 4 concentrations, 8 concentrations, go deeper and deeper before moving to vipassana. And then in the Zen, they will tell you, you don't need to achieve anything, you don't need to study anything, just sit. Right? Just sit. You say, this is totally contradictory. And then in the Gelupa, they will tell you, forget about meditation until you're ready. First study 10 years of philosophy, get it right, understand very well the teachings, and then you're going to a 3-year retreat. So there are different approaches, right? And in the Dzogchen and the Mahamudra, they will start with some shamatha until you have tamed your mind a little bit, and then you will move to vipassana and integrate with the 20-hour instructions and the practice of Mahamudra, the Great Seal, or Dzogchen, the Great Perfection, right? So there is no contradiction. There are paths that are presenting a more developmental way, a more causal way, cultivating the causes. But at the same time, they're reminding you of your Buddha nature. And then there's paths that are more from the holistic view, more the fruition, taking the fruit as a path, taking your Buddha nature as an reality and actuality, and recognizing it right here, right now, and resting in it. But they always encourage you to live an ethical way of life or have ethical actions. They remind you of the causal path. There is a whole environment supporting these teachings. So if you take Zen that has been practiced very strictly in monasteries and in retreat centers where the teacher is checking on you and he hits you with a stick if you're kind of slouching or falling asleep, right? They have a lot of knowledge about the sutras, the Sutrayana, the Buddhist teaching. They live ethical lives, they live in community, they support each other, they learn to tame their mental afflictions by getting along with their fellow monks and female Araso monks. They live together, female and male. So, with their fellow practitioners, right? So you take only just sit, without the teacher, without the study, without the library, without the community, without everything in Zen. And then you just come to the West and you put a center and you invite people and say, I learned Zen, I'm going to teach you Zen, let's just sit. And then you spend 50 years just sitting without any context, and no wonder why many people that have practiced like that, they're not enlightened, right? So it's important, the context. The Dzogchen, the Mahamudra tradition, they study also a lot. They do a lot of preliminary practices before giving the pointing our instruction, the teaching on Dzogchen and the Mahamudra and the 6 yogas of Naropa. And Jitsuma told us, if a nun wants to become a Togdama, she first needs to study, be prepared to take the path. just going to retreat and meditate, right? So it's not like you can say, well, I just want to take this little part and I hope it will work, right? So we have to put into balance. And my point here is that when you're in your own, in retreat, doing your own retreat, your own practice, you will notice that you have a tendency to go to one or the other extreme. So your personality, and this is nothing wrong, might take you to be an overachiever and think, I need to achieve shamatha and I need to sit for 4 hours straight without moving, and I need to do all these meditations and be very disciplined, and I need to achieve Buddhahood as soon as possible, right? And you're working really, really hard. Maybe developing a lot of long distance balance. And then you might be the other personality where you say, there's nothing to do. I'm just going to sit and relax and drop here. Just sit. I'm just going to be present with everything, right? So that's okay up to some point. When you start hitting a barrier, you have to notice so that you start taking the other approach. So if you've been very tough, practicing very goal-oriented, then read some Zen teachings or Dzogchen books, or listen to some guided meditations. Read Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. That will refresh your mind. That will bring a new feeling. Or to drop for several sessions. Just be open with your heart, with the loving kindness. And I'm going to forget about achieving. I'm just going to enjoy the moment, right? I'm just going to be present, and I don't care if I don't become enlightened. And then on the other hand, if you hit the wall where you notice you're just daydreaming and just wandering mind, or falling asleep, or just over-relaxed, that is becoming a kind of laziness, then start with some teachings, some recordings, some books. Now we have so much material. Remind yourself that you can also be disciplined and practice in the causal way, cultivating those causes. Create some merit, cultivate some generosity, or do something, right? To get out of that complacency too. And so in that way, you learn to balance yourself. I was doing retreat with a very lovely couple, and he was the kind who was like just so relaxed and joyful all the time and taking it easy. And she was very disciplined and goal-oriented. And our teacher would give completely different advice to both of them, as you can expect. The instruction for him was to get disciplined, and for her was to just relax and chill out, you see? So that's also important. If you have teachers to check, they will notice how to help you or orient you to what is best for you, right? So here we're seeing all the teachings, and I've tried to give you a little bit of both approaches, right? But in the private interviews, on one-on-one, checking with each one of you that you're doing what your heart also is calling you, in the direction that your intuition and your inner wisdom is leading you, but at the same time giving you some advice on how to balance, okay? So that's important to know. And so if you decide to go to any retreat center from here, you want to do a vipashyana goenka, you know what they're doing. They're doing the second application of mindfulness. They're watching the sensations of the body and investigating the two characteristics of reality, impermanence, lack of inherent existence. And every condition phenomenon is suffering. So they are investigating, okay? So you know what they're doing. They tell you, you can recite mantras in this retreat, you can do any other practice, okay, doesn't matter. You go to a Theravada center in Thailand or in Myanmar, and they tell you, here we do Shamatha, and then vipashyana, or we do only vipashyana. You know what they're doing. They tell you, we're gonna do mindfulness of breathing. Okay, you know where that fits in the whole picture. You go to a Zen monastery, and they tell you, just sit, right? And don't analyze. Okay, I'm not going to do analytical meditation. You go to a Gelupa retreat. You're going to have a lot of teaching and analyzing and investigating each part and the logic about how to understand how each part fits together or is not there, or investigate emptiness or dependent arising or a lot of philosophy. Okay, you know where it fits. You might go to a Dzogchen retreat. You might receive the pointed out instructions. Well, maybe you're prepared because your mind is calmer and you've been practicing a lot. Yesterday, I don't know if you noticed, but I was kind of encouraging Titsuma to tell us more about how to recognize nature of mind. And she gave an amazing talk, an amazing description. And I think there was a pointing out there. I don't know if you got any insights, but you have to expose repeatedly to those teachers who can very beautifully show you or tell you how to practice and recognize, So when you have the opportunity to be with a teacher like that, and they are explaining how to look at the mind, how to rest in the present, just stay with their words a little bit in silence. If they make a pause, don't jump immediately to talk or to do a question. Don't disrupt that moment. Stay with them. Stay in their presence. Let them lead you with the words, but not only the words. Those teachers are resting in their Buddha nature. Their heart is completely open. See? So listen carefully what they're saying, and then just be there. And try to meditate as they are explaining something or answering a question. Just listen what they're saying and do it in the moment. Don't think, she's saying that, this is going to be my next question, or why is she saying that? I don't agree. This book says something else. Don't put your mind in thinking, reasoning mode. Put it in contemplative mode, because it's a great opportunity, and it's not easy to be in the presence of such realized beings. Someone who, we don't know, might be a bodhisattva or a Buddha or be an ordinary practitioner, but one thing we know, they are a little bit ahead of us. So we can learn something, right? So if you go to any retreat center and you meet a teacher, any teacher, a Burmese teacher, a Thai teacher, a Tibetan teacher, connect from your heart. Don't go and say, oh, but why are you teaching this? All that I learned before is contradictory to what you're teaching. Because then you miss the point. I was in Thailand in a Thai forest monastery, beautiful, amazing. It's a paradise, right? And the abbot there is an amazing monk that spent 7 years in a cave and then developed this place for people to retreat. And you're giving your little kuti, your cabin, and you offer food that they give you to the monks there, and you meditate with them, walking, and everything's open. You have green all around you, around the meditation hall, and there's a creek and a lake, and there's some caves you can also go and meditate. It's beautiful, and this man is just loving kindness to a degree you can't imagine. He's just emanating love, you see? And he speaks very little English. He tells you some stories about how he was in the cave and he met a tiger and different very funny stories. But if you're present with him, you don't need to speak any language. You can learn just from watching and being together with him. So, he is not interested in making money or making a profitable place that gives a lot of income. Anybody can give wherever you want and stay as long as you want, as long as you're practicing and they see you're practicing and taking the opportunity of that place. It's all an act of generosity, and the place keeps growing. People from all over the world come. There's no email, there's no website. You only can go there if you have the good karma. So there's places like this where you can find amazing realized beings. I was in a Korean Zen monastery, and the Zen master is such an amazing teacher. He doesn't teach philosophy or the 4 Ds, the 8 Ds, the 3 Ds. It's Zen, and Zen is different. It's just, it developed in another culture, in Korea, in Japan, in China. It's another culture, but now we can have access to that. And it's completely different from the Thai approach or the Tibetan. But if you see, they all the teachings of the Buddha, the teachings to how to be free, how to recognize your true nature. So this teacher, the Zen master, he would just sit with us and have tea, and we were chatting, and then he would, out of the blue, start giving us a teaching with the things that were happening in the moment. It's hard to give an example, but like there was a dog, and the dog wanted to come and grab the cookies we were eating, and everybody was kind of trying to stop the dog and distracted by the dog and pushing the dog away while he was teaching. And then he just stopped and looked at the dog, and he started throwing all the cookies to the dog and just laughing, you know? And then we just realized how silly we were all there, how stiff, you see? But he's an amazing presence. He's always resting in the nature of mind. And we would wake up at 4 a.m. to meditate with him in silence. And then we would recite the Diamond Sutra with him. And you can see that he's an incarnation of the Diamond Sutra. He practices the Diamond Sutra, he recites it, he teaches the Diamond Sutra. It's one of the sutras of the Prajna Paramita Sutras, the Perfection of Wisdom Sutras. So, not only that, he lives in the place where the Buddha taught the Diamond Sutra. It's amazing the coherence of his body, speech, and mind. Everything he does and lives is coherence. So you can learn a lot from these beings. But you might just be a traveler, pass through there and say, how cute monk, but that's not my tradition, that's not my path. I don't have anything to learn from this person. Then you missed it, right? Same with the Tibetan teachers. You might see a lot of rituals and prayers and singing and think, well, this is not for me. But if you have that openness and you understand that they are all coming to the same place, then you can be with a Galupa teacher and studying philosophy here in Dharamsala. You can be in Sopema studying Dzogchen in the caves, in the temples there, or you can be in, I don't know, in Nepal. There's amazing teachers there too. So that's the point, that you can meditate anywhere, in any retreat center, and know where that fits in the path. In the casual path or in the fruitional path. This Zen master has, outside of his monastery, has a sign that says, "Who am I?" And the meditation he gave us was very simple. It was sit and ask, "Who am I?" And don't answer. Just be there. So Korean Zen is a little bit different approach than Japanese Zen, but beautiful. You see? And if you go to another kind of Zen, you also have so much to learn. I was in Shasta Abbey, Japanese Zen, although it's kind of interesting. It's not only Japanese. The founder was a woman that was an expert and a scholar on Baroque music, a composer, a musician, a prodigy of the Baroque music. And she was an, I don't know if she was, I think she was European. She went to study in Japan with her teacher and became a Zen master herself. And so this place is amazing because it combines the aesthetics of Japan with the aesthetics of the Middle Age European art. So it's an amazing place. You can hear like an organ playing the Japanese music, but beautiful. You have how is it? Stained glass. Mm-hmm. In a beautiful building, but you have instead of the church, Gothic church figures, you have Amitabha, Tara, all the Buddhas. She made an amazing combination. But they practice Zen, traditional Zen practice, and they have a sense of community that is amazing. You have to work there. To join a team like the kitchen or the gardening or somewhere, and you have a sense that you're working for everybody, that your work is part of sustaining that community. It's also donation based, which is amazing for being in the US. Very few places, almost none, are by donation. So there are amazing places that we can go and learn and meditate if we have that openness and we understand that all teachings are there for a reason and nothing contradicts anything and nothing is the absolute truth or the absolute way. If we learn to integrate, we can learn so much and we can meditate in so many places and meet amazing realized beings. You know, so that's important, especially because, as Shetsuma was saying, there is not that many places where you can meditate for a long time if you want it. Either is the visa or the place cannot host you for more than a certain time, or so many reasons that can arise, really. But if you realize you have a Dharma family all over the world, and you can go to different places and meditate there, and you have a community, and if you learn how to integrate with that community and learn from the teachers that are there, and you know where that fits, in the path, then you won't have the contradiction. Okay? So, yeah, it was beautiful to meet both Kamcho Rinpoche and Jitsuma. I'm very glad we had that opportunity and collective karma. It was a good luck Friday 13th. Very good luck. And also that we meditated with the relics of the Togdens. That was, I don't know if you noticed, but that's a pretty special place. The energy there, it just calms your mind. It's beautiful. So, yeah, I'm gonna send you a link. You can find it very easily, but and the things I'm gonna send you of Togden Amtin. His life was amazing. Yes.
Are you going to send us also a list of the places you were talking about? You mentioned a lot of places.
I've been thinking about it, and I'm gonna send some that are very well known and popular. But there's a few that I think I'm just gonna send on one-on-one if you have interest and you really want to practice, because I don't want to say it publicly because this is being recorded. I don't know who is going to listen to this recording. And I've noticed that there's places that it was not easy for me to find and meditate there. And they are very generous in giving you everything. And some people take advantage of that. And they think, this is great. I can go meditate for several months or for a year in this place. I have lodging, I have food, I don't have to work, I don't have to do anything. But then they are not meditating. They're going out and shopping and acting as tourists. And I think that's kind of not good. It's not creating good karma for them. And also it's not ethical. Right? Because they are providing you that place so that you can go deeper into your meditation practice. I'm not saying going for a walk in nature or if you need to go to the doctor, of course, but the attitude, And I've seen people taking advantage of this, and I feel bad because there are a lot of really interested people that want to meditate, and they're taking the opportunity, the place, for somebody else to be there in retreat, really practicing. So, yeah, I have collected over the years several links and a list of places, and I will be happy to share with those of you who have interest in doing retreat. So when you want to do a retreat, you can write me and tell me which place you want to go, and I'll tell you if I know a place there, or I will share with you some of the places I know. I know Alan is going to a retreat that I remember with a lot of love, that I did a long retreat there in Nepal, and I already gave some advice, and others of you also. So, yeah. There was another place that I don't mention because I just learned that it's not a retreat anymore, but it was amazing here in India, in the middle of India, and it was all caves in a magnificent location, an island with amazing caves, and they would give you food and just meditate in the caves. And there was the bird cave and the space cave and the water cave, amazing names. And each one of the caves was really special to meditate. I was meditating in all the caves. It was really a beautiful place, but unfortunately, it's not operating as a retreat center. It's not a center. It's just in nature, but if I hear that it's operating enough, I will let you know this place too. And yeah, there's a few, and there's also ways to extend visas. There are ethical ways extend your visas and do longer retreats in some places. So if you want to do a longer retreat, like a year or more, or months, several months, there's also some ways to do it if you don't have a permit or long visa or nationality of the place, right? Yeah, we were talking yesterday, a couple of you, how now in the West we are not there yet in terms of having places where people can meditate and give a donation or pay according to their possibilities. Like in Asia, we have places where the whole community is supporting that place, and it's possible to create this. In Myanmar, I was in an amazing retreat center where were 300 meditators. We were a city of meditators, and it was, they didn't even ask for a donation. I mean, you can offer it, but they don't ask you for. And the people of the community, of the village, of the town, they come and they sponsor the meals for 300 practitioners. So you come to have lunch, and you have like a buffet of vegetarian, delicious, nutritious, amazingly cooked food. And that's like such a gift, such a beautiful thing. I feel so sorry when people speak bad about Myanmar, because for me it was an amazing experience of seeing how the community were supporting practitioners in a way that I've never seen. Yeah, amazing. In the West, we don't have this. There's a few centers where you can rent a cabin, but they will charge you at least $800 a month or more. And if you want to do a long retreat, it's difficult unless you are retired, you have savings, or you have a sponsor, right? But if you want to do a long retreat, it's almost difficult to sustain with those prices. So now slowly they are creating more opportunities or scholarships, but not like in Asia. So it's good that we can now travel again and do retreat in Asia, because well, they are ahead of the West in that regard. So tomorrow will be the last session with me, last class, and Monday I will be packing, and Tuesday I go. So tomorrow also the last interviews, and I will tell you a little bit more about the retreats that I feel you can visit, or courses, or different things you can go do from here on. And also there's, well, from Monday there's 10 days left for you of the retreat, but some of you want to stay a little bit longer and continue taking that momentum to practice. So it will be optional for you if you want to start talking or keep silence. So finding that balance, if you feel like you want to start coming out of retreat and start talking mindfully and meaningfully, because it's good for you to start kind of connecting with the others, and before you leave, kind of have their contact information and all of that, you can start talking. I think we started yesterday, but but you can start. Just try to be very mindful, like not just let your mind immediately speak everything you think, but try to keep what you cultivated during the retreat, of all these weeks in silence, take a moment to think about what am I going to say. Is it worthy? Is it beneficial? Is it important? Just question and then speak. And those of you who want to remain in silence, let's all respect each other. And so just put did I give you silence signs? Noble silence? So just put your sign if you want. If some days you want to speak, you can take it, and then you want to be in silence, you can put it. You don't have to choose one group or the other and take sides. Like, it's up to you and your personal practice and where you are at and what you need. For some of you, you found silence to be very beneficial, very peaceful. It allowed you to go deeper into your practice. You really enjoyed. You don't want to speak ever again. I understand. And for some of you, it was really hard, and you want to talk, and that's a way to connect with others too. So let's just respect each other. And if you see there's people in silence, try to speak at a low volume, not screaming, not shouting, and respecting. Okay? That's it. Okay, well, see you tomorrow.
Just